They have done everything, all the little whispers, or like, hey, the little back end ways, like this for sure get you a job. It's been done. I've read off Eric Bieniemy's resume, and they still winning going to the AFC Championship game. So I got a problem with that, and I just think it's wow. It bothers me because it's like we good enough to go out here and play, get on this field, jump up and down, but we're not good enough to lead this team.
Let's go behind the mask.
Welcome back to another edition of the Behind the Mask podcast. I'm your host, Takeo Spikes, and to my right is
your favorite plus-size model, Tutan, Reyes.
Hey, I like when you do that, dog.
In the building. You know it.
In the building.
Did you see it? Did you heard?
You gonna bark after that too?
Nah, I ain't barking. All right. What's good, Spice? What's good, man?
Hey, man. Good week of football.
Absolutely.
Good week of football and great games. This is another playoff edition. To be able to catch the games and to see some of the things that how we see it as players and to come back and translate it into what the majority of people really, why they fall in love with the game. That's cool to do today.
For sure, man. And, you know, this is any athletes or any professional football players, this is their favorite time of year. You know what I mean? It's a whole new season, the playoffs, and everybody's aspiring for that one goal, that championship. So the games are condensed. It's heightened. Everybody's watching. You know what I mean? We were watching. So this is what it's about right now.
Oh, yeah, no doubt, dog. So I got to ask you, like, for real, though, like, when you look at the games yesterday and you look at a few days ago, but when you look at how everything transpired, to me, I want to say the biggest game out of the day, I wouldn't say the biggest surprise, but when the Chiefs played against the Texans.
Yeah.
Down 24-0. And I'm going to tell you how funny this was. I'm talking to one of my other partners, man, and I'm like, bro, this is crazy. And he was like, Spikes, I haven't seen this in like 45 years of living. And I was like, yes, you have. I was like, the Falcons, the Super Bowl. Hey, 15 minutes later, they came out in the third quarter, scored 3 more touchdowns. I text him back and I say, bro, I've been living for 43 years and I have not seen anything like this before. Totally mute. I don't know if you ever been in a situation that was clearly that was like one of a kind.
Yeah.
But have you ever been in a situation like that, or like, what is the thought process though? Like if you're Houston though, if you're the Houston defense, and you know they coming, and you like, oh, you feel that momentum shift. You know how you just feel it.
Yeah.
And nobody really wants to acknowledge it, but you walk around on the sideline. What would you say?
I tell you, the crazy part about it is I spent some time with the Texans my last year in the league before I was done, and I'm in a group text with all the legends. So about halftime, somebody in the group text, it's about 60, 80 of us, something like that. Somebody texts, "Go Texans," in the group text. So I looked at it and I was like, I'm not even going to respond. It's not even halftime yet. Man, when I tell you, talking about being mute, it was straight crickets the whole second half in this group text. You know what I'm saying? So, but being in those games like that, when you're up and you feel that momentum shift, like psychologically your mind is just saying, as opposed to keep pressing, keep winning, some of those guys on your team is like, nah, just don't fuck up. Don't let me be the reason why we start to lose the game. And
so you say they started playing tense, tight.
Yeah, it start getting a little tight, tentative. You play, as opposed to playing to win, you play not to lose, which makes no sense, but that's just how the mind is set up. Like, you really want to keep pressing, but as soon as you feel like, you know, something that worked in the first half, they made the other team made the adjustment. Now, literally, your toes are in your cleats, like.
So you ripping through the socks.
You ripping through the socks, like, don't mess this up. You know what I mean? And then once that momentum shift, it's real. And once you see that other team just creeping back into the game, you're like, all right, start looking at the clock. How much time do we have left? Is the clock on our side? Can we continue to just score one more touchdown? And when that doesn't happen, it just slips away, man.
At what point, if you're the coach, and obviously you see, you know what, like my shit works.
Mm-hmm.
21-0, my shit really works. 24-0, they ain't scoring a damn point on us today.
Yeah.
And as soon as KC gets a big kick return, that sparks and ignite them. So as a coach, I'm just thinking, at what point do you, when you see them coming back, and when they made it within 3, then they outscored you on another big touchdown, at what point do you just say, everything that we've done, take the game plan, like wipe your ass with it, throw it across the bench, because obviously it ain't working.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, for real though, help me. I don't understand that.
Man, I don't get it either. But we used to always say, the coaches they assholes get tight. They get tense too, and they want to be the ones that keeps the team in line in terms of not getting too big for the moment, not getting caught up in the moment. But coaches do too. They human too. And you saw that happen yesterday with O'Brien with the Texans, man. They were up, like you said, 24-0. And that's why there's 3 components of the game: offense, defense, and special teams. Yeah, offense, defense was not doing anything in the first half for the Chiefs, but then they got sparked with a special teams play. Then another one, block punts, and you got fumbles, etc. So those are the little things that really in a game can flip that momentum around. And as a player that's on an opposing team that's up, you have to take it upon yourself to be like, nah, we're not gonna let this happen. And the Texans just were over their head, man. And you saw why the Chiefs were one of the better teams for the past couple of years in the NFL, man.
Yeah.
It was a great game, though.
Yeah, no doubt. Deshaun Watson even came out and said he still thinks Bill O'Brien is like his coach.
Yeah.
That's their coach. And
I
I expect him. I do too.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show you how deep it runs. It's not just, from a coach's perspective, but everybody has a buy-in with it. You talked about the small things, and we look at that Baltimore Ravens game. I would probably say that was the most disappointing game for the Ravens fans. Very disappointing. Even I just think of when I first turned on the TV, I tweeted about it. I was like, bro, I remember when Ray used to come out that tunnel, and it was a show, but it was like it was a pregame show for the whole team, like a mini motion picture.
Yeah.
And I just felt like the moment got too big for them as a team. Like you just talked about guys becoming tight. You seeing guys who usually make catches, like easy catches, routine catches, dropping footballs, penalties that they didn't sustain, so that they couldn't come back from.
Well, Spikes, I saw, a Ravens team that was phenomenal the entire year, but they finally got a taste of what Derrick Henry really could do. And that's a big man. I think we were watching the game. We were going back and forth with Jamal Lewis, like, how big is this kid? I thought he was like 240, 250, but easily. Jay Lou said he was about 265, and this man is running like a damn freight train through that Ravens defense. Like you said, when Ray came out, when he played, it almost was an intimidating factor for the opposing offense, opposing team, seeing all of that prior to the game. Ravens didn't bring any of that in the playoffs. And playing the game, Spikes, the defense typically sets the tempo. That's why throughout the course of the year, when you have the home games, you let your defense get announced.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because defensive guys come out with the swagger, get the crowd hyped up, get them into the fire and all that stuff. Offensive guys, we just run out the tunnel. We just trying to get to the game and get the job done. But y'all had the swag and everything. So, I didn't see that from the Ravens yesterday. And again, you got to take your hat off to Henry, what he was able to do. I think, 3 straight games, 180 yards rushing.
Yeah.
And, if you have a solid running game, a solid defense, it don't matter what your quarterback do. Your quarterback, as long as he doesn't lose the game, you have an opportunity to go forward in the playoffs. And that's what the Titans are doing right now. Ravens just didn't have it. But my question to you is, we heard OC, one of our good friends early in the season, talk about the Ravens offense will become predictable and lazy, right? Now, Lamar Jackson, phenomenal job. Didn't put the points up. Still did a phenomenal job in terms of his offensive output. But is he the type of player moving forward that can have success long-term for the Ravens in the playoffs? Not the regular season. Regular season is great, MVP probably of the league, but at the end of the day, you chasing a championship, what does all of that mean?
Yeah, I definitely think so. when you look at it big picture, what made them so good? The ability to run the football, not even counting Lamar Jackson. Now you take an athlete like that and you bring in his special ability to take from year 1 to year 2, understanding how to set up the NFL running blocking schemes. For the most part, a lot of it is God-given. But understanding, okay, now we're going to put the ball in your hands, and instead of giving the ball to the running back, we're going to give you an extra blocker, which will outnumber the amount of people. That's what I saw this year. So is it sustainable? Absolutely it is, because you damn near, when you go man-on-man blocking, most of the times, 85 to 95% of the guys are going to be blocked. It just got to be that one guy, So for me, I think wherever he goes, and even from here, he got better. He had career highs and everything. That's the reason why I think he's sustainable.
But sustainable in terms of winning a Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
Now, we look at the most recent history. I say the last 10 years since you retired, since I was playing. Name me, I can think of one quarterback that had that Lamar Jackson style of play that's even made it to the Super Bowl. And I could be wrong, but that's made it. I can't remember any that have won. Maybe outside of Russell Wilson. He's got one.
Yeah.
But aside from that, who else do you have? Can you name the one?
What, Donovan?
Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick. With the running style of, phenomenal athlete running the ball. Everyone else has been a stand-up. Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning, you know what I'm saying? Eli, Brady. Those are the quarterbacks that seemingly continuously win the Super Bowls. Not make it. Love the numbers, love the athleticism, what he does for the league, MVP and all of that. But can that win a Super Bowl?
Yeah,
It hadn't.
I don't. The reason why it hasn't is good point, because coaches and teams are afraid to even go and take a chance on the black guy, the black quarterback who can do both, because they're afraid of what they haven't seen. And so now I think when you see guys getting more opportunities to play this position and people embracing them, i.e. when you look at Baltimore and Lamar, I think the proof is in the pudding.
So you think that, the Ravens have a legit shot to run and win the championship?
I do. I just think the disappointing thing is you look at how they played defensively, did not even show up. And that was one of the things that, even going back when Ray first got there all the way into the day now, that's one thing you always can count on, is that defense being able to keep you in the game. And I felt like they didn't do their end of the bargain to be able to hold them in that game. So, and then Lamar damn near still brought his team back.
Yeah.
And had an opportunity going towards the end.
I think it remains to be seen, man. And another thing, though, that I kind of find dope over the weekend is even throughout the course of this season, we talked about all the black quarterbacks having a phenomenal year. That was all the narrative, how the top 4 or 5 quarterbacks in the league were all black. First time in league history, I say. You had Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes. We just talked about Lamar Jackson and Russell Wilson. But quietly, somebody that did their thing, was slept on for the first time, I think, in his career, and really showed up and showed out. Aaron Rodgers did his thing and got the Packers back to another NFC championship. But again, just kind of going back to it, he's athletic in his own right, but doesn't look to run down the field with the ball or whatever. He doesn't have the zone reads, the options, and all of that. He really manipulates the pocket and gets the ball down the field. But I think Aaron Rodgers, he's poised to make another Super Bowl run and actually make it back to the to the championship. You ask me.
So pretty much you telling us and everybody.
I think Rodgers.
Green Bay is gonna beat the Niners.
I think Green Bay got what it takes. So tell me this, yo. Unfortunately, 15 years in the league.
Yep.
No playoff games.
No.
So you're talking about spectating. No shade, but you watched a lot of playoffs. No shade.
I want to slap the shit out of you right now.
No shade, yo. But what's the like? I played in a couple playoff games and was on the team.
Hold up, did you play or did you just come to the game?
Yes, I played, bro. I played.
I could have took another person beside me.
That's fine. I played. I definitely played in some games, yo. Don't go there. But what I'm saying is, what's the life like? And we're gonna tell the people.
Nah, for real though, because it's like it's not a secret. I didn't play in a playoff. Do I wish I could have played in one? Yes, but you know what? I fucking didn't.
I know it's a sore spot.
Nah, man.
That's a sore spot. My bad.
I like to have fun with it.
But what was the lifestyle being in the league? You know, everybody wants to get to the Super Bowl, like I said. But what's the lifestyle? What was your weekly, scenario watching the playoffs? What was you doing as opposed to playing in the games?
It goes back to what I just said a few minutes ago. I used to, like, before you actually attain anything, like, you got to dream of having it. And so that's what I would do. Bro, I would you know how I am about watching games now. Like, I don't care what's going on. Like, you could put a naked woman, just have her walk by. Like, I'll glance and say, that's nice, but that head is going right back to the TV. Now, maybe on that commercial break, I might get up.
Was there any, routine, any get-togethers, parties? What was the playoff playoff life like?
Oh, it sucked. That shit sucked, dog. It was, you know what? Because when I finally came to grips, early in my career, we would just get beat down. And so when I finally came to grips, like, you know what? We're not a good team and we won't go. And you see when you're eliminated, basically what I'm saying throughout the season. And then it was more so it turned into personal pride for me because it was like, all right, I'm going to just do whatever I can. So when I get back in the off season, a small compliment, you walking past me just like, hey, you could say whatever, collectively you could say whatever, but like I took pride in when you was like, hey, boy, we had the damn, our OC came in like, hey, I know we playing Cincinnati, but this 51 over here, if we don't get him, it's going to be a long day. Like, that's what I love. So when I sit back now, it's like watching those games, I used to think of that, imagining if I was in it, you know what I mean, and just really enjoying and embracing it because, I've always loved the game like that.
So being eliminated, you might be on a bubble. They always show ones that clinch, a couple of teams that's on a bubble. You need these scenarios to happen. What's that feeling when you in that last week 17, and then somebody wins or y'all don't make it? What's that feeling like?
Oh, I had one of those experiences.
What happened?
That was the closest that I got to making, one of them. I got to making the playoffs. And the only thing we had to do was win. We were on a 7-game win streak. And, oh, man, 7-game win streak in Buffalo. Some of the guys on that team, London Fletcher, Jeff Posey, Lawyer Malloy, Troy Vincent, Pat Weeks. Like, we had an all-star team. Like, at least 3 guys on that defense, Antoine Winfield. So, but, man, we playing against Pittsburgh, and then Pittsburgh sat their starters.
And I still took a L?
Oh! They sat their starters, and they were like, we're not going to even, that's it.
Because they already had clinched.
They clinched already. They clinched their spot already. And so I was like, in my mind, I'm thinking, now, if we can't go out here and whoop their ass, we got problems. Yeah. Like, I was 200% like certified and sure, like, we finna tear their ass up. Going to the game, and I'm like, who was, during the week, I'm like, who was the backup? Willie Parker. Hey, Mario! Who is Willie Parker? Mario is like, probably that's a plumber's name. You know what I mean? So we don't even know who Willie Parker is. Like, we know.
Yeah. But he ain't put up no numbers like that.
No, he hadn't played. And this experience has always stuck with me. But to see Willie Parker come out and they run this counter play. Pittsburgh, famously known for doing. He ran the play, and I mean everything that could went wrong happened. And so I remember this play because, I was king of the runners and hitters. Like I can run and hit. Man, I remember seeing Willie Parker come by me so fast, bro. It was almost like, God dang. I jumped on my horse. I'm trying to catch him. I'm like, all right, Nate to catch him. Nate Clements. Nate came at an angle. And Nate has been clocked at like high 4.38, 4.4, like consistent, like low 4.4. And Willie Parker outran Nate at an angle. And it went all downhill from there. And I remember our offense could not move the ball at all, bro. And it was we were like the hottest team. We were that Tennessee Titans team that year. And I remember like we just took it and we couldn't do nothing about it. You know what I mean?
I tell you what's crazy though. You say y'all went on a 7-game winning streak, so y'all started off the season some trash if y'all couldn't.
Yes, it was disappointing, man.
Yeah, but because y'all flipped the tide of the season and had the opportunity to still make the playoffs.
Yeah, we drafted J.P. Lossman. And he didn't pan out. Then Drew came back in because Drew Bledsoe still was there. So they had benched Drew for JP.
Yeah.
And when Drew came back on, it was just like, we was taking off. Boom, 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 boom. But that game, man, I'll forever remember that game because it was some more guys on there guess who was the defensive MVP?
Who that?
Nobody never heard of him up until this. James Harrison. Oh, he went off. I knew him just because I watched linebackers. But I was like, did this dude say he was gonna kill y'all before the ball was snapped? Bro, he was a modern day Lawrence Taylor.
There's a gladiator out there.
Yeah. And it was the last week of the season.
So after that, you don't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Back to, regularly scheduled programming. We vacationing, what we doing?
Oh no, I was
you kind of sitting in that place for a minute. You know what I'm saying? Because you got the loss, you wanted to make the playoffs, you were that close. So now do you sit in that place or do you just kind of go back to life? You know what I'm saying? Get back to the crib, get back to baby girl and keep it moving or what?
Oh yeah. You know what the big thing was like after it was over, right? Like the game's over, Super Bowl and everything. Like the thing that I would do was I would just come back to the crib and then it just turns into the routine, the daddy duties.
Yeah.
So then, my daughter would be at the house with me and I used to brush her hair.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Oh, I forgot about that, bro. Yeah, man, but that's what it turns into, It was, bro, listen, you really just made me just think about, all the stuff.
So there's a positive, silver lining in it, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And I think what the people don't realize is that as hard as we go, and even though that's our professional goal of winning the Super Bowl, make it to the playoffs and advance, and obviously the checks are, decent to keep that money coming in. You kind of, after a while, normalcy sets back in, and you get back to your regular life of being a father, as you said, you know what I'm saying? If you're married, being a husband or whatever it may be. So real life kind of takes hold, and you actually have time to be back with your family, which means the most at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the flip side, I tell you how it was. I think 10 years in the league, didn't play all 10, but I think I made the playoffs maybe like 4 to 6 times, I don't remember. But the weekly routine, the hardest thing is to continue to do what's become mundane after 17 weeks of the regular season. Because you know what it is. You do a little walkthrough on Monday, maybe do some conditioning. Off Tuesday, get your body right. Wednesday, you do the first install. Thursday, red zone. Friday, short yardage goal line. Saturday, walkthrough. Sunday, game. Same thing for 17 weeks. So it becomes a little bit mundane because you kind of predict in these meetings. Oh, I know what this is going to be. I know what this is going to be.
Yeah.
What variation of the offense or defense do we have? But then that goes on to another 3 or 4 weeks in the playoffs, and it's the same thing. The difference is it's fewer and fewer teams. So you kind of going up that pyramid because everybody's falling off. You're going up that pyramid to see who's the king of the crown, king of the hill, so to speak. But the fun part is the city becomes electric around you when you're actually winning. You know what I mean? The city really galvanizes behind you.
They treat you good when y'all go out.
They treat you great, man. They treat you great.
Did
I'm
you
talking
pay?
about free meals.
You
know
took
what I mean?
advantage of the free meals.
Did I?
I know you did.
Plus size model. Did I?
Let's talk about that Rooney Rule.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's been a sensitive topic. It's been like that for years. To catch everybody up, what is the Rooney Rule? The Rooney Rule is a National Football League policy that requires league teams to interview ethnic minority candidates for head coaching and senior football operation jobs. Basically, you can't say it's affirmative action just because the NFL is a private entity and it's their own in-house policy. But it's the closest thing. It's really allowing some of these minorities, coaches out here, to get an opportunity to get an interview so they can show their intellect. Go in there and spit their IP, what I like to call it. And so in order for us to get a chance, meaning black people, have an opportunity to coach or be in those head positions, it's very disappointing. It's disappointing because, when you look at it, this rule was brought in 2002. And you look at the amount of coaches that are coaching today. If you go back to 2003, it's the same amount of black coaches, minority coaches in this league, which is 3, right? It's 3. Flores down in Miami. Anthony Lynn at the Los Angeles Chargers.
Pittsburgh.
Yep. And Mike Tomlin. When you talk about black coaches, so, dang, what is that?
3. You got Ron Rivera, too.
Ron Rivera,
Yeah.
minority. So when you look at that, you haven't increased anything. That's over, that's what, 15 years ago?
Yeah. 1/8, 32 teams, 4 head coaches. So, 1/8 of the coaches in the league are minorities.
Over 15 years.
I think the rule or I think the rule was supposed to be implemented for a positive reason. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, anybody could say, okay, any company could say, yes, we'll interview one minority. Because all it is, you have to interview at least one minority candidate for head coaching or upper office position. But at the end of the day, that doesn't mean anything because you can interview them and then you still know who you're going to hire. You know
so,
what I mean?
what I want you to go back to that because, a lot of our listeners out here, they, you said they got to interview one minority. Right? Can you kind of paint a picture somewhat of what that kind of looks like
if you're a company and easy way to break it down, if you go on like any of these hiring platforms like an Indeed or Job Monster, whatever, at the end it gives you a little disclaimer that says this is a equal opportunity company, no race, gender, we won't discriminate, yada yada yada. That's the same thing in NFL standards as the Rooney Rule.
Right.
They're saying yes, we will interview somebody, and it doesn't matter your race, your color, or what have you. But that's just an out. That's the fine print saying, all right, if we happen to hire straight white people or white people for these positions, it doesn't matter if they're more qualified, if they have experience, or if whatever. It's just it's an easy out. So I think the Rooney Rule was put in place to actually help, or I won't even say help, but it was put in place to give a positive narrative saying, yes, we as a league will take consideration for minority candidates. But at the end of the day, there's no there's nothing in that rule that says we have to hire. So yeah, you can interview out your ass. What does that mean? I know who I'm gonna hire. I could say at Behind the Mask podcast, there's only one rule. There are no rules. But guess what? When we were starting this out, if we got somebody on our team or somebody that we know that's not down with us, that wants to join the podcast, but we know we doing this ourselves regardless.
Right.
We could bring them on.
Same difference.
That's the same thing. That's what the Rooney Rule is. They're saying, yeah, we'll interview you. We'll give you a chance to sit in there, give your take on why you should get this position. But at the end of the day, we don't have to hire you.
But and I want to play. I'm not going to say play devil's advocate. But the true response, what I've been hearing, and what I mean is, it really is true, is from this aspect. If you're the person in charge, you can hire whoever you want to, which goes off of the back end of what you just said.
Right.
And people say, people ask me the question, do you think that's wrong? I was like, I can't say I think, like, this is where I feel that it's wrong. One of my good friends, he told me this all the time. Diversity is a fact. Inclusion is a choice. And so when I heard that from my friend, Troy Vincent, it puts it all into perspective. And I get it. We all feel comfortable, want to hire people that may look like us. We want to hire people that we know because my friend knows him. But that's cool. I feel that. We all do that, regardless of whatever color, race, or whatever you believe in. We all do that. The problem I have is not giving somebody a chance because you don't think they're not worthy or you feel threatened by what this young man coming into the building or what he can provide from an IP standpoint. Or maybe are you afraid of the fact that if I get somebody like that who will eventually be the face of my franchise, then how does that make me feel? So it's a lot of different moving perspectives on it. I don't like it from that. I think it's bullshit. You get a lot of coaches out here. I know a lot of friends who, they go to these coaching symposiums.
Mm-hmm.
They go to the Senior Bowl. They go to the Combine.
They put in the work.
They put in the work, and they still come up short. And not like they're just existing. These guys are moving up through the ranks, earning team honors. If you really want to know how good a coach is, just ask 5 players.
Yeah.
One thing a player ain't gonna lie to you. And if he don't want to say something that's gonna come off as conflicting, then he'll just be like, I just leave it at that.
I think it's just a proof that glass ceiling exists even in the NFL. Right? Same way in corporate America, you have a glass ceiling. It's but so high, certain people can go, women can go, minorities can go. Clearly, it exists in the NFL. As you said, for head coaching positions, if there were only 3 or 4 back then, when the rule first came out, and we at the same place now in 2019, some 17 years later, where was the progression? You know what I'm saying? You mean to tell me in 17 years there haven't been enough candidates that came through the ranks that have been coaching for that same amount of time that are worthy of getting at least a head coaching position, a general manager position? I think it's even fewer GMs, black GMs, than it is black head coaches. So if you can't, it starts at the top. So all the owners, with the exception of all the NFL team owners, with the exception of Shad Khan, are white. I mean, that's just a fact. All right?
Yep.
So Shad Khan in Jacksonville. All right? So if you have this hierarchy that's at the top, and they have, we called it the good old boy network. If they have the same relationships with the people that they've come along with, the same spheres of influence with the people that are people in their businesses, because everybody's not a football head. Remember, these are 32 billionaires. They didn't make their billions off of football.
Means they was doing something.
They were doing something else. They were business minds. Incredible, great. But they have people literally in their operations that run other businesses for them that may love sports. So they say, hey, if you can keep this business booming for me over here, let's keep this business booming. And they literally put those people in place and it trickles down. So those same people that are the head of operations for Shell Oil or for Bojangles or for, whatever car company. And these are some of the, businesses that these NFL owners have. And they put these people in places for the NFL teams. They're going to bring their SVPs over. They're going to bring, their people over. And that's going to trickle down. And it just is not going to be these minorities. And as fucked up as it is, that's the reality of it. So that Rooney Rule, like you said, is bullshit to me because there's no growth. There's no GMs that are still there that can make these decisions. Say, hey, now I want to hire this head coach.
Yeah,
they're not there. So what's the change in it? Why are you still out there? And we getting up in arms about it when the question really needs to be: screw the rule. How do we get these minorities in positions of power for real? That's the thing. Not just head coaches, but the GMs. You know what I'm saying? The head of team operations. Those are the positions that really make the decisions that'll trickle down to head coaches, where we all see which are the clickbaits, the things that are on the sports networks and everything. Those are the things that get the fans up in arms. So let's really talk about how we get people to the top, and then it'll still trickle down.
Right on. And I totally agree with you on that. But when you look at what sparked these conversations, you look at some of the coaching hires. Let's start down and with your former team, the Carolina Panthers. Matt Rule, right?
Mm-hmm.
Brought him over from Baylor.
Yep.
His background is very legit. He's been through something. I actually like him. I know of him anyway, but if I just happen to look at his resume on paper, I would say, you know what, I like this guy.
Right.
He finds a way to be able to adjust. When you look at Cleveland, they hired the OC from Minnesota, Stefanski, Kevin Stefanski. And so you look at this, and these guys they're in their 30s, 38 years old. And speaking of Stefanski, but when you look at him and you look at the short amount of time, how he progressed through the ranks of becoming who he is today. He started, he's always been in the Minnesota Vikings. And his story is very rare because he grew from every position all the way up. So that shows a lot of respect from a lot of the people who've been around him. But Minnesota Vikings, he got there in 2006, 2008. He was assistant to the head coach. Assistant quarterback coach in 2009 through 2013. 2014 and 15, he was a tight ends coach. Then he moved to running backs on 2016. Quarterbacks coach again 2017-18. Then he was the interim offensive coordinator 2018. I think they fired their other coordinator and he was elevated from his quarterback position. And now this past year, he was the offensive coordinator. Just to put it in a nutshell, the way that he advanced and Kirk Cousins had career highs in everything that he did this year. So I understand the want and the need to feel like you want to have that type of ability on your staff as a Cleveland Brown. I get it. This is where it bothers me, though, because it's so many guys, black coaches who are coming up through the ranks. You look at who are coordinators now: Eric Bieniemy, Byron Leftwich, Jim Caldwell, who was down in Miami. I didn't even know he was down in Miami. He was in Miami. Now it's talks of him maybe being the front runner going to Tennessee as the coordinator for next year. Vikings defensive coordinator, George Edwards, Chris Richard from the Cowboys, Robert Saleh. So when you look at all of these guys, black guys who have spent enormous time in the game, not only as players, But years after the fact, Chris Richard, very good defensive mind. It's crazy to hear he's still out on the street as a position coach / coordinator for the Cowboys. Well, now we'll just see what happens after that. The big one for me is you look at Eric Bieniemy, the running back. He started out, he was the running back when he was in college, pros and everything, offensive coordinator to the Kansas City Chiefs. Big Red, Andy Reid came out on record saying that he doesn't know why he hasn't been hired. He's sharp, he handles everything, he coordinates the offense. Andy Reid just called plays.
Yeah.
Andy Reid shows up and he'll tell you, I played on this team. He just calls the plays. So when you look at what Eric Bieniemy has done in the time that, brothers have always been trying to advance, meaning I remember back in the day, and I know you do as well, there were times to where, black guys were not even allowed to play certain positions.
Facts.
You look at the quarterback, you look at the linebacker position, you look at the safety. The thing that they all had in common was that you had to have a bigger scope view of what was going on from the entirety versus just a small snippet.
Right.
So, I'm a big fan of Bieniemy. And I don't see how, if you even care about football, I don't see how you can't be either. So my point is this, and I'm going to just make this point. I'm going to be a little lengthy. But Eric Bieniemy coordinated the third highest scoring offense, not this year now, in the history of the 100 years. Been up under Andy Reid, who's put out so many head coaches, like a lot. Ron Rivera is one of them.
Right.
Now, you look at Jim Caldwell, his time when he was with Detroit Lions, posted 3 winning seasons, led the Lions to their first 11-win season since 1991 and made the playoffs 2 times. In his first head coaching job, he took the Colts to the Super Bowl. So, and the fact of him not even being a head coach now it's just stupid. Jim Caldwell lost his job after going 9-7. Went to the playoffs twice. They replaced him with Matt Patricia. Matt Patricia just finished his 2nd season. Guess how many games he's won?
How many?
In 2 years, 9. So, I was always a proponent of not trying to make, in my earlier years, I ain't trying to, listen, I want to look at it for face value. I ain't trying to make everything black and white. But this is where black and white is black and white.
Yeah, facts.
You know what I'm saying? So, and you look at these guys who deservingly need to have a shot. But then you look at New York when the Giants, they go hire Joe Judge, the special. People were like, who?
Yeah.
And listen,
Even Giants fans were like, who?
Yeah, Giants fans will tell you exactly. But Joe Judge, but let's look at his resume, though. Joe Judge, New York Giants coach, came from the New England Patriots. He was the special teams coach there, and he worked with receivers, I think. So, coaching history, Mississippi State, played with them, graduate assistant, 2005, 2007. Birmingham Southern linebackers coach, 2008. Went over to Alabama with Nick Saban. He was a special teams assistant. 2012 to 2014, he got a job, the power of the network and what you talked about earlier, with the New England Patriots. How did that happen? Well, it's not by accident that Belichick and Saban are best friends. So he went to New England, 2012, special teams assistant. 2015 to 18, special teams coordinator. 2019, he was then introduced to not only as a coordinator for the special teams, but he was the wide receivers coach. So, New York Giants fans and everybody's listening, that is the head coach for the New York Giants, Joe Judge.
No head coaching experience.
None. No head coaching experience.
No coordinator experience.
No coordinator experience. And for so many years, you hear they tell all the guys, the little in-house talk, hey, man, the only way you won't get to the top, you got to get a coordinator job.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, you can't be on the defensive side. You got to be on the offensive side. Oh, now switch back over. Now you got to go to the defensive side. My point is this. They have done everything, all the little whispers, or like, hey, the little back end ways, like this for sure get you a job. Mm. It's been done. I read off Eric Bieniemy's resume, and they still winning, going to the AFC Championship game. So I got a problem with that, and I just think it's wow. It bothers me because it's like we good enough to go out here and play, get on this field, jump up and down, but we're not good enough to lead this team from a big picture.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so for me, I look at it like, yeah, the Rooney Rule is this. No, it ain't. It is not doing what we all hoped that it would do. Period.
It's BS.
It's bad. It's horseshit.
It is. And at the end of the day, we're taught, or we learn that you're supposed to hire the best qualified person for that position. At least that's what we like to think. But clearly, as you just said, the relationships, and as I was saying, the relationships are what matter. So people will say, it ain't what you know, is who you know. So, what you know will get you in the room. Who you know will get you in the room. What you know will keep you there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So who you know will get you in the room. What you know will keep you there. So obviously, like you talking about with the Giants coach, it's through relationships, not discrediting anything the Patriots have done on special teams. I don't know what they've done. I know their receivers aren't just the greatest this year. So whatever. But who you know. So now the Giants fans, they're gonna be straight up though. So they're gonna actually let you know if you biggest media market in the world, you'll find out real quick if this guy is what he's supposed to be. And like I said, I don't believe in the rule. I think it's falling on deaf ears. And it just sucks that guys like Eric Bieniemy, guys that have put in the work, as you said, gotten those coordinator positions or moving up the ladder, is still a glass ceiling even in the NFL. And that's the sad part about it. So the rule, you can throw that out. The conversation needs to shift from that, because we all know what it is. You can put the smoke and mirrors up all you want. But now let's move to the flip side of it. How do we change that? And that's the question that I don't have the answer to. Yeah,
and I'm searching for the answer as well. I do know it's a bunch of quality coaches out there that are black. I'm talking about the black coaches. The majority of them came here in Atlanta for the second year in a row for a summit that they have, to be able to share ideas and try to share ways to be able to help each other out. Because it seems as if nobody is not reaching back, lending a hand, bringing these guys up. But steadily you going out here, you give a guy, hey, he earned it. And I'm not mad at him. But Matt Rule, the head coach for now, the Panthers. Yeah. So now you look at, 6 year, 5 year, 7 years, $60 million? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So
no NFL experience?
None. But you let a black coach get in that position. He don't get no 7 year, no $60 million. Nah. He'll take that 3 for 30.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, they just, it's sad. But we ain't gonna stop though.
Nah, we definitely ain't gonna stop.
We still gonna keep beating them drums, baby.
Absolutely, keep going. That's how you get behind the mask too, because we actually showing these are some of the things that we think about. It ain't just about the X's and O's. It ain't just about going out there banging heads. When we played, we wouldn't have had this conversation. This really wasn't in our thought process when we were playing.
Yeah.
But as you retire, as you mature, as you gain knowledge of how business works, you're no longer in your 20s thinking you know it all. Now you're actually in your 30s or whatever, saying, you know what, nah, I don't have all the answers. I really don't know everything. And then as we mature, we like, damn, this was the lie that we've been told the whole time. You know what I'm saying? So now you actually have an opportunity to have these conversations and hopefully get other people to see what you're saying and realize it from our vantage point of the reality of what really goes on in these locker rooms, in these organizations behind the mask. So.
Yeah, I mean, hey, cheers.
That's why we here. Salute.
Salute.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Behind the Mask podcast.
Indulge, share, and subscribe to quality content.
And we're everywhere. We're on YouTube. Make sure you scroll to the bottom, click that little bell for notifications. We're on Google Play, we're on Spotify, and we're on Apple Music.
Even on social media, we're going to make it easy for you. Follow at the BTM Podcast for your weekly fixings. And remember, there's only one rule.
There are no rules.
Let's go behind the mask.